Okay, hi everyone. As we await people to join us on this webinar, so let's give everyone another 2 minutes, and then I'll proceed to kickstart the webinar. People are coming in very quickly. Very exciting. I believe that we do have participants joining us today from different continents. Um, and we also have very exciting discussion topics as well. So as we give everyone another 1 minute to join us. All right. Okay, let's roll. So, hi everyone. My name is Elena Lim, Head of Strategic Partnerships with Bridgewise, and I'm responsible for building global partnerships at Bridgewise and based in Singapore. So today, in a very disruptive global environment that has emerged, we've seen that there is really a shift in the US policy, elevated uncertainties. That's also signaling a new macro regime driven by all these mega forces to reshape the global economy that will impact inflation, global trade dynamics. So, how do Asian investors anticipate and respond to these macro headwinds? And what would be the prevailing trends among the Asian investors? And how should we expect a fundamental shift in their investment attitudes? So, today I have the privilege of introducing three experts on this panel to discuss the future of fund investments in APAC. So, today joining us are Dragan Murkov, Global Head Content Intelligence at SIX. Arjun Verma, Group Head of Wealth Management at Gcash, and our Nita. Okay, right. Now, first and foremost, I'm going to turn the camera to Dragon. Now, you've worked closely with leading financial institutions across the globe. You've seen firsthand how investors' behavior is shifting, especially when it comes to ETFs, private assets, and adoption of new technologies. So there is a growing interest in very complex investment products, especially in APAC, and how regulatory changes and generation shifts are influencing how people invest today. So we're going to ask you, the first question would be, what do you think are the biggest shifts you've observed in how investors approach funds and ETFs in the recent year?
Thank you for the question, Elena. Yeah, from an investment point, we see that the asset inflows across the different investment areas, specifically in the banking space, where we are one of the leading providers across the global. We have recognized that funds and ETFs was growing from 25% to over 40% in the past 10 years globally. ETFs, they've been already 5 years of interest, where been very low inflow from an asset under management, which is massively changed in the past year. That we see the interest in ETFs, it's coming more in terms of exchange traded instruments. That means you can trade the ETFs on an exchange itself. They don't need to have a legal registration. And also in terms of public availability of information, it's getting definitely more transparency. In addition to classical funds and ETFs, the inflows is also driven by complex instruments. Complex instruments, which is giving also to public audience in terms of private equity, private debts. It's getting more transparency and it's also more awareness in the market.
Yeah. Thanks for that, Dragon. I hear that you use this word transparency and access. So just really looking ahead, right? So what role do you think that the regulation, the transparency, or even AI, right, would define the future structure of the investment landscape?
Um, that's a very good question, and I would summarize in a very short. Regulation is the key driver of investments in general. That means based on transparency, if you see advisors and insurances, they're taking their investments out of regulatory-driven requirements, which mean if you need to fulfill requirements, you have also all the data which is required into, and on an ETF part, it's clearly the transparency, one of the key elements, which means ETFs have also a lot of information on a daily basis that you can see the portfolio compositions. Yeah. What we saw from Six Financial Service, it's most our customers are banks in middle and back office, which means private banks, wealth manager. We see more and more requests of these fund-related data, which includes ETFs, but also complex instruments. What we done in the last 2 years, we invested a lot into the fund area, but AI is a key driver. We have an innovation team, and together with our sister company Ultimus, we built all these in terms of AI-driven data collection and also transparency, giving information like the composition. That means an ETF, all the composites are getting more public. You need to process the data. And AI, it's a massive impact driving this, also making this transparent to end investors.
Now, just shifting gear a bit, you talked about the transformation, the AI. So the next question I have is going to be for Nitzan, right? Again, highlighting on the market volatility. Sometimes we can see this as a form of a disruption, or it could also be an opportunity, right? So with the right strategy, this could be a very powerful catalyst for returns. So could you share with us and step us through like how innovation, using AI-driven insights can help to accelerate these shifts in the market for the investors?
Definitely, definitely. So I think, joining to Dragon's answer, how AI is shifting the funds instrument investment, I think we can rely here on two main pillars that are very important that AI is shifting the world with. The first one is access. Okay, like generally speaking about AI, for me as a father to a 1-year-old baby using AI, it giving me the access to answer any question about every time she fell and everything, and I can answer it immediately. And obviously with investment, it's even much more sophisticated and much more fruitful. I think, and this is one of the missions that we have in Bridgewise, the ability to give access to any fund, to any stock, to any financial assets that any investors are interested in is extremely important. And also with our ability, speaking about Bridgewise, this is what we're doing with our AI capabilities for funds. We're doing a bottom-up analysis. Like, for instance, if we take the S&P 500 or the Russell 2000, the ability to analyze every underlying asset one by one, doing an analysis for it is extremely helpful to give an access to every fund around the globe. That being said, also we can, again, using AI capabilities with the data that is everywhere outside, you can actually analyze every fund that is existing on the world. It doesn't matter how big or small it is. The second pillar that is also extremely important is transparency, which again, Dragon mentioned. Nowadays, investors worldwide, again, it doesn't matter if they're in APAC, which is the subject that we're here to discuss today, but in Europe, Brazil, wherever, not only interested in the bottom line of should I buy this fund for this case or stock or whatever, they're also highly interested in why. Why do you think as an organization, as a bank, as a super app like Gcashier, why do you recommend us to buy this fund? And AI has the capabilities of supporting this question. Again, with just like I mentioned, the bottom-up analysis, but not only that. And this is how AI has been shifting and will be shifting the capital markets world in the next few years.
Wow. So AI is the key topic, and like it is a new and fast changing technology. So Dragon, you know, we've heard you, we've heard Nitsan talk about AI, talking about technology, and this very fast shifting in terms of economic trajectories, right? So, in your view, how can investors, like redefine or fundamentally, do you see them redefining their investment strategy, and what are the critical data points will be most indicative of the future market trends?
Um, that's something which is from the different investor types for sure. Different interest. That means we have on one hand side we have also a generation change. That means people which are starting to build these investments. For them, it's AI driven. Same what Nizan explained. We can learn a lot in terms of how information is publicly available on one hand side. On the other hand side is for sure restrictions in terms of regulatory requirements is always the challenge. That means if you're looking into region and even also continents, protecting the investors, it's one achievement. And this is also regulatory driven requirements you need to fulfill. But at the end, what you want to achieve is to protect the investor itself and give them investments which is also with their profiles. Yeah, but which mean specific in terms of investment areas, you should be careful also investing what you like, what you understand, one hand side. And on the other hand side is also quite important, what industry types is your flavor, did you can also combine this with your investments that you would to take in. Yeah, it's I would say a personal feeling, and also for sure also we have much more transparency as been 10 years ago, that nothing been public, nothing been on web. You can achieve and also find this information across the AI, plus also you can go simple on the websites. Yeah.
Mm. Um, I like to consider myself as a mid-high risk taker. So when it comes to investments and ETFs, in my opinion, right, is a generally known in the market as a very passive investment vehicle, right? However, ETF are increasingly gaining share of all funds and popularity among investors, especially across US and Europe. Arjun, based on your role leading wealth management at Gcash and your broader mission of driving inclusion across APAC, and I sit in Singapore, so that's a very close to my heart topic. Could you please share with us what are some of the unique characteristics of Filipino investors when it comes to fund adoption? And what you see are the major roadblocks and opportunities for this adoption to take place in Philippines?
Thanks, Elena. Filipino investors have some very unique characteristics when it comes to fund adoption. Firstly, in this country, there's a very high level of digital adoption. Filipinos are one among the most active mobile internet users globally. Also, with the nature of the geography of Philippines, it is always challenging for traditional brick and mortar bank branching to reach to the far end of the country because it's an archipelago after all. This makes platforms like Gcash an ideal entry point for investment access, especially for first-time investors who are more comfortable transacting on mobile than walking into a bank or a brokerage. That said, Filipino investors are also very conservative. There's still a strong preference for guaranteed products like time deposits and insurance over market-linked investments. Trust and familiarity play a huge role in financial decision making. So many hesitate to try mutual funds or UITFs unless the benefits and risks are clearly communicated and relatable. In terms of roadblocks here, financial literacy is really a major barrier. Many people simply don't know what are funds, how they work, or what they might do for their betterment of the future. And they prefer to keep the cash idle in a savings account. They don't understand that they're losing on inflation and, among other things. There's also a perception that investment is only for the wealthy. For average Filipino, they just believe in their work and their income as the only way by which they can get around their means. And this is something that we are actively trying to change. We are investing and making a lot of effort in market education by providing inclusive and accessible platforms. On the flip side, the opportunities are massive. There's a lot of growing middle class, increasing openness to digital finance, and stronger interest in growing wealth. We are experiencing it ourselves firsthand. We're also seeing regulatory support, which is a major thing because we are getting a lot of support from our regulators. They support fintech players to offer investment products responsibly, and they are fostering innovation. And we can continue to build trust if we can educate the users in a personalized and contextual way, and other relevant fund options at low minimums. We can significantly expand the investor base in the Philippines. So I'm very optimistic, very excited, and I see a very good opportunity for us to unlock.
Oh, thank you. In fact, you've highlighted exactly the next question I have for you, right? Is that, as a fintech player here to disrupt and challenge the old traditional, perhaps, banking investment infrastructure. And you also talk about it's very important to build trust with the local users and with the regulators. So what would be a few of these learning that you could share with our audience that is looking to, for example, to look to disrupt in their markets where users are relatively unaware of a brand like that's a new fintech player? What advice would you give them?
Firstly, I would like to re-emphasize that Gcash has a long history in this country. Even though bulk of our success and adoption came during the pandemic, and Gcash is now seen as equivalent to cash, and it's really taken off big time in Philippines. However, for us, we don't just see ourselves as a payment platform, but as a gateway to broader financial inclusion, especially for the millions of Filipinos who are traditionally underserved when it comes to investing. To bridge the gap for retail investors, we focus on three strategic pillars: access, education, and trust. Access is fundamental. Through our GInvest platform, we have made investment so simple and affordable. Our products on funds, they start at $1. So as low as $1 or 50 pesos locally, you can start your investment journey with us. We have partnered with top fund houses like Atram, BPI, and even Manulife to offer a wide range of local and global funds and UITFs. And just recently, we launched G Bonds, which is government treasury bonds. We partnered with the Bureau of Treasury, and right from the Gcash app, one can buy and trade in the treasury bonds. This allows them to invest in government-backed, low-risk instruments, making it ideal for more conservative users. So we have kind of like completed our suite of offerings, and starting as low as $1 or 50 peso, we are seeing a lot of traction among the mass adoption of our product. The next big pillar for us is education. We know many users are investing for the first time. So we have developed and will soon launch our in-app financial coach powered by AI. And of course, from your side in Bridgewise, we are looking forward to see how we can strengthen our partnership on this element as well. I know you guys play a very important role in education sector, leveraging on tech and AI. So very excited, which provides personalized, because we want to provide personalized and jargon-free guidance. Because an average Filipino is a very proud person, and sometimes when they don't know what they don't know, they're also quite shy to ask for professional help, and there is a lack of professional accessible help in terms of financial literacy. So whether a user is exploring funds for the first time or deciding whether to invest on other financial securities, our platform will have the capability to give them real-time, contextual, insight-based approach on their goals and risk appetite. And we will also serve them in-app educational material content and in simple language in different dialects that are popular in the country. And we believe that this will demystify investment concepts through our learning hub. And the last pillar, but not the least, is trust. Building trust is such an important thing because at the end of the day, people are parting their immediate cash with us, and they expect returns, and they expect security, and they expect some growth. So all the investment products that are offered in partnership with regulated institutions, it's very important that we comply with regulatory, and also we play a very responsible hand in this. We prioritize transparency on fees, risk, and performance. We're also proud to be working closely with SEC, BSP, BTR, PSE, and key financial industry stakeholders to ensure compliance, safety, and long-term sustainability. Our approach is really about serving Filipinos based on their mobile phones with a simple, relevant, and guided investment experience. By doing that, we are confident that we'll bring billion more into our formal investment ecosystem. And finally, our mission to serve the underserved and financial inclusion will come to life.
Thank you for sharing that, Arjun. Very, very insightful. Just kind of being as a global company, we often hear very diverse stories, the demographics being so different. So I'm going to flip the coin back over to Europe for Dragon to share with us a bit of the insights in terms of how the European investors behave differently, or like what are the key factors around the considerations in terms of investment into funds. Do you face similar challenges that to what Arjun has shared in Philippines?
Yeah, I think the culture that we heard from Arjun regarding the Philippines is also quite in Europe, that people are getting more conservative approach. That's clearly you need to educate the people on one hand side also, and giving them also these kind of trust what they have to be doing in future investments. If you see the geopolitical situation in the past 5 years, they have impact massively. One, if we have the pandemic, and secondly, we have also geopolitical situations. What does it mean is with our services that we are feeding into banks, like I said before, we are collecting data which is underlying of investment. That means really the composites in a fund and in an ETF. Out of this data, you can achieve multiple requirements in the advisory. That means if you do advisory via a classical insurance advisor space or private bank and wealth management, there are 3 elements, I think. One is they would like to understand the portfolios. With the single positions, we are helping with the position to understand which regions, which, let's say, also industry types they want to invest. Why this is important? Even like you said, Elena, you will maybe invest in something that you like, that you also understand, and this is all of our humans like this. Yeah. The second pillar, and this is really driven in Europe and still valid, is the ESG component. That means they want to understand how ESG I'm investing with this instrument, even if it's in private assets, more in regulation. The regulatory requirements will be changing in the future. And the third pillar, and this is, we built a new service which is called Sanction for Funds. They would like to see, where do I investing with the risk with my profile? That means, I repeating myself, geopolitically, everybody have some different view, and even regions, banks, and investor types. Here we from Six Financial Information trying to help to give more clarity.
Thank you for sharing. So for some of you who may not be aware, but now Bridgewise is live on Rakuten Securities in Japan, with 3 million reports downloaded in the first 24 hours. And that actually translates to every 4 investors, one has downloaded the report in the very first 24 hours. So this is an amazing success, right? So Nitan, now my question to you is that as a relatively unknown brand in Japan, how did Bridgewise success, gain traction, win trust with this big global partners like Rakuten?
So yeah, first of all, yeah, we're very proud of these numbers, and even in the next coming days, it was even better. But I think it's really about the mission, and I really connect here to what Arjun and Dragan has mentioned. We all understand, and I think, and I'd love to share a bit more about Bridgewise story, but we understand that there is a gap in financial literacy. Many of the population worldwide are being out, like they're not part of the game. They're being underserved, and that's exactly Bridgeways mission, and that's exactly what we want to achieve in this world. And if we go back 4 or 5 years ago during the pandemic time, where many people sat back home and said, okay, so I've already made dinner. Now what's next? What I can do back home? And many people wanted to invest. And partners just like Gcash, but not only, again, worldwide and Rakuten Securities, they're making this world much more accessible in terms of investment and execution. And we're here in the part of education. We want that every investor in the world, they can be in Serbia, Croatia, or in the Philippines, and any other place in APAC, just like Japan. We want to give them the opportunity to understand more about what's happening in the financial market and in the capital markets. By the funds, given the information about what is this fund, why should I invest or should I avoid it? What is the alternatives that I have that I can invest in? That's it. It can be in stock, and it's mostly about the language, given it in their mother tongue. Lastly, it's also about the trust. And as I mentioned, and I'm sharing it again, we're explaining why we should invest in a certain instrument. And we're also, as again, I will share the glimpse, we're having the regulator backing us in terms of the fact that we are authorized to give financial recommendation for our clients. And I think, and we see it in Japan, this number that you've mentioned about more than 3 million reports in a day, meaning 3 million reports about stocks, about funds that the Japanese customers are interested in. It's not only limited to Japan. I think I can share that we see it also in Thailand. In Thailand, there was a big appetite for local funds, and just 2 months ago, we onboarded around 800 Thai funds that no one in the market has been covering. And we're the only one who's been able to do it, again, using AI. We don't have analysts that are doing it one by one. And we see that the Thai people are really after it. And even with Arjun, he shared, so I'll comply with that. We're working very closely with Gcash, now onboarding funds that Gcash investors, the Filipinos, are highly interested in. And that's all about financial education and making the unserved customers now being served.
Thank you. I've been hearing this word AI being brought up a couple of times. So I'm going to ask for a response or your view from the three panelists, right? Like what role do you think AI technology will play? If you think about it, just about 5 years back, this word AI was rarely used. And these days, anyone from 3 years old to 80 years old is using this word. So, do you foresee this transformation affecting existing and future job functions? If I may start with Arjun, can you please share with us your feedback on that?
Sure, Elena. I see AI as a net job creator. Back in the day when computer was new, people thought computers will change and replace jobs rapidly, and they were very scared. I think it's similar now, and this is probably even a bigger tech revolution than the internet itself. In Gcash perspective and in investment perspective, I see AI playing a huge role. And it's multidimensional. I think the biggest thing is, we are embracing AI. We are soon to launch our G Coach AI based, solution for customers to get financial literacy. But it is just a start. I think where it can go is, we are all familiar with robo investing at the other end of the spectrum, where AI will make the trades and, reasonably perform the same or better than the best fund manager. And it's only going to get better. But I think where I see the power of AI is to scale investment at a mainstream level. Because as I said, accessibility to investment is such a niche and such a secret club within the wealthy. At least that's the perception in the emerging market. AI will help break those barriers, give them hope that, my money is now being managed by something better than a human could manage. And it comes at a fraction of cost, or even not even a fraction of cost. And I can start as low as, $1. To get the kind of expertise that AI can potentially generate for a bank to set up that kind of capability, the cost to serve is just going to be too high. So I see AI as a major, major breakthrough in the financial inclusion for the people. And I'm very excited about that.
Dragon?
Yeah, I would say what Ayun also explained is if you see the volume of information that you're transmitting, AI is definitely the key driver. But is it replacing all of us humans? I don't think this is the idea of all this. If you see, you have much more requirements. That means you need to bring reportings, you need to fill um, regulatory minimum requirements, transparency. Is it really beneficial for an investor that we are investing human to do the work, or we're making an interest of the investor to reducing costs and making more efficient? One is the cost part, the other one is also taking the risk. And Ion explained the volume that it's driving towards the future was not 20 years ago. That means the humans are interested. They are really hungry to see new things. And with AI, we can definitely also moving in an area which we maybe don't thinking about today. And I believe the generations, specifically the upcoming generation, they will participate of this, definitely.
Yeah, I think obviously I agree with Arjun and Dragon here. I think it empowers eventually everyone. Okay, like I think I can think here about two great examples. The first one, let's take the wealth advisors, the relationship managers in the bank. Okay, without AI, managing a large scale of customers, it's very difficult. And with AI, it can trigger us automatically. This is one of the things, obviously, that we're doing. But hey, this bunch of group of customers have been investing in Apple or Nvidia. Now, Apple just released the reports, and the recommendation has been changed from hold to buy. Okay, so you need to do it rapidly. So the AI can trigger it, can make give talking pieces to the advisor. The other way around, if we go to the automated way of what has been called robo-advisory, now in Bridgewise we're calling it the genie, but the ability to automatically generate portfolios for your clients, always optimize it, be in a conversation with the client whenever, if they're in bed or in the sofa or on a plane, to help them generate much more revenues and to increase their portfolio and to discuss and understand about it. These are the things that AI is doing, and it's empowering the human on the bank side or on the trading platform side to be much more efficient. And we see it. We see the revolution these days.
Thank you. I must say that I disagree with the three of you because at home, I often tell my partner that if the AI is going to start doing the dishes and washing the clothes, his role will be displaced, and I will find someone else to do it. So so on the final the takeaway note, just wanted like before we wrap up and move to the Q&A, I again would like to ask the three panelists today, what is one transformative trend that you truly believe may change the next chapter for fund investments in your respective region over the next 3 to 5 years? So Arjun, would you like to start with Asia?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that I'm excited about is the tokenization of funds. As I said, accessibility is really a big challenge for the majority. If you look at the penetration of funds, at least from Philippines perspective, we are talking less than 1%, 2% of the population. With Gcash, that number is starting to change. Just to give you a perspective, we have 5 times more fund users than what it used to be before we started launching the G funds. We've literally, and the same thing we see in stocks as well. In Philippine Stock Exchange, more than 60% of the retail traders are from Gcash user. And that number happened in the last 2 years. So when we start going towards the tokenization and accessibility, giving access to the best performing funds at $1 entry, we are breaking a lot of barriers. We are breaking a lot of challenges that the mainstream hustling mass and even some of the mass affluent people feel. And I'm really, really excited to leverage on that technology. And of course, powered with AI, what we talked about a while ago. If we combine the two together, we have the potentially the next big thing coming in the financial markets here.
I fully agree, and I think we are already in this transformation, which means we're given the private investors, or let's say the end investor, more confidence that they are also understood what is behind. For example, ETFs, we are see high interest out of their tracking also and seeing benchmarks with equities, which is recognized in the market. AI helping them to understand. Nizan explained, okay, everybody knows when a news comes from Apple, what impact will we have this into the market, and they don't wait for a week to get the same message. The market is gone, the professional done their money, and the private sitting there said, okay, I lost again 20%. Additionally, the private asset market, which been very, very close to institutionals only, it's also going, and we have in Europe always the interest been asking for years, and now we have in Europe that's called LTIF products. It's starting also giving to private investors out of, if you see over the last 3 years, how much assets in the private equity space being given, this is a big, I would say, future. And again, we are already in this transformation. Yeah.
I think to add here, I think that obviously the main thing is about access. So we've spoken about the investors, but I think it's also worth mentioning the instruments, the assets themselves. I think that the world is now leaning towards a new time where you don't need to invest only on what is being spoken on the news, okay? But again, using AI, you can find hidden gems, things that people haven't been speaking about. And now, again, with AI that is being able to give you access and understanding more about what you read in the news, you can do it. And I think, again, from our experience, we see it worldwide. Even I can share that in Japan, we were surprised with this new launch that you have mentioned, that most majority of the clients there weren't interested only on the blue chip companies, but even the mid cap companies and the mid cap funds that not everyone are interested in. And I think that's the big revolution that we're now facing.
Thank you. So now let's open up for questions from our audience. So if you have any question you'd like to ask our panelists, please type your questions in the chat. I've already received one question, so let's get that moving. So the question is from Tamar, is that with so many AI tools emerging, how can investors differentiate between credible, high quality analysis and generic or misleading outputs? Who would like to take that question?
I think I'll start. I think, first of all, it's a very fair question. Always follow the regulator, I think. This also is our guidelines. We're following them and we're always collaborating with them. I think I totally agree with hallucinations and even with data that no one knows where it comes from. In the world of investment, we all should be very, very, very cautious. I think obviously with the partners that we work with, this is the first thing that they were always asking, and I think that the regulators always obviously these days are also very, very strict, and I think that that would be the route that I will be taking.
I agree, and I think also even the regulator, they are still in the findings what is best fit from different angles. That means maybe we are not there where we'll be in the future. It's a little bit also experienced wise and testing wise. It's not one single which you can recommend only for the moment. It's a little bit also in the finding periods. That means let's sit down together here in a year. We will have more to share and also giving more insights that we experience. And again, I heard Europe, it's a little bit different to APAC, and for sure US is also different. And you know, there's different service providers in that space. It's sometimes same. You like Microsoft, you like Apple. What is the preference on your computer? It's similar here. Yeah.
Yeah, I would like to add, this is a very good question. And the reason why this is a good question is in the times that we live in, misinformation is the new industry that has, mushroomed across the world. And it's very important that we as, credible players in the financial sector take, this thing very seriously. I like the answer of Nidson, especially follow the regulatory. The regulators are, the most responsible neutral bodies in our countries, and I think it's very important that customers take, credible, rely on credible brands that are, regulatory compliant. Like us in GCash, we are very closely working with the regulators to make sure that our financial advisory, our financial products are credible and responsible. Because we understand that, as I mentioned, in the growing age of misinformation, it will be more challenging for credible players to, emphasize how that they are responsible. And people already mimic us, people already copy us, people already use our brand, and it's always been, we take this very, very seriously in GCash. And of course, that's why we are very particular with our partners. Like when we partner with, whoever we partner with, like in your case, we go through a very stringent process of, selecting the information, training our AI models, making sure that the model is tested thoroughly. And, like the model that we are currently working on, we have been testing it for months before even we go live. So, and the devil is always in the details. So we are very particular with our FAQs, our information, how we go out. So increasingly more, this will be an area of focus for us.
Yeah. So there's a question from the audience as well, but I'm going to try to paraphrase this. This is around the young investors that's emerging in this space. So do you see this? What are really the trend in terms of how the Gen Zs are investing, and how are be it the fintech or the institutions changing or shifting their strategy to serve this group of young investors?
Maybe what I realize in Europe, for sure, the huge interest is into ETFs. That you hear when I'm speaking to banks, and also I recently received a request, is even a fund is investing in an ETF. That means this is something that I realized in the last, let's say, half year. And in some regions in Eastern Europe, for example, I've been also on an event, they're speaking only about ETFs. Classical mutual funds, it's out of scope. They see this more closer to classical equities and also taking these as a real asset. This is where I saw most of the trend are going into. And for sure, again, ETFs are super transparent. You can go to the web with AI, you will get all the composites in a day. It's not with a delay of 60 months that you understand what the investments are taking.
I think to connect with Dragan's great point, I think it's about the time to market, time to invest. Like people want to get information quick. They want to understand what's happening. They don't want to be left behind. And to address this kind of qualification and requirements, we work very, very hard to get our data as soon as possible. That has been obviously not just giving the data, but also making it accessible with the intelligence and not only just the data itself. I think that's A. And B, I think this generation is very, very challenging, the mainstream investment ways. So as Dragan mentioned about funds, I think in every region it may be even different, and every country, like I can share that in Brazil, the most of the investments go to bonds. But I think it's again concentrating not only in the big names, but also in the mid cap, even the low cap sometimes. People in this generation think there are hidden gems and they believe they can find it.
Yeah, to add to Nitsan and Dragan, I think in Philippines, we see a lot of interest in crypto, especially from the young generation. And sometimes we are very responsible about how we manage our users. So for us, advisory and recommendation, we keep it very informative and very much in a laymanized way. And that's our mission as well, to make sure that the young generation is educated into what they're getting into. There's no, I mean, they look for instant gratification in the age of social media. Instant gratification is really a barrier for us to work, because the good investment is always the passive investment. They do the work silently and not with some gimmick that happens instantly. So we are constantly trying to educate, and that's why I keep going back to the importance of financial advisory mainstream through AI is going to be the way to manage that for us.
Thank you. All right, last question from Russell. The Bridgewide tools really improve insights into the market, particularly through coverage of stocks that are not really targeted by institutional investors. Are you able to confirm this by being able to see what percentage of reports being downloaded are for the mid cap and small cap segments? I think this is going to be a question for Nathan, right?
Yeah. So again, great question. I don't think I can classify the exact percentage, but I can tell you that again from a partnership that we have in Thailand, we saw there are like the big ones and the big cap are, let's say, around 50% of the market that is consisted out of 700 stocks. We saw there that in the first 2 weeks of the launch that we made with this partner, 90% of the other stocks has been requested by clients. We see it nowadays also with the launch that Elena mentioned in Japan with Rakuten Securities. There again, I cannot classify the numbers there, but we see that investors are looking for the hidden gems and not only the mainstream investments that everyone are looking after.
Perfect. Now, I believe that to only save us time for this as a last question, is there any last comment, feedback before I release the speakers? Is there any, last thought? Dragon?
My recommendation only is to the people who were taking investments. Think what is your favor, maybe also in region, and also into, let's say, when you're going to the restaurant, you have your favorite food and what you like and you don't like, and also thinking about investments. Friends and family ask me, what should I invest? I said, invest what you understand and what you also can touch by yourself. Crypto is not everyone's flavor, but again, the young generation there is interested. Like Ayun said, they want to see what is the future, and they're reading in social media so much. But I know also people, they had the experience. They burned some money. Be careful what you do and think what you do. It's same like in your life.
Yeah. Thanks, Ragan. I think I keep going back to the potential and the opportunity that investment has. And I think one of the things that I didn't get to touch upon earlier is the power of habits, financial habits. I think investing is all about developing good financial habits when you're young. And I think for my mission and my priority is, Philippines is a very young country. Philippines has a lot of, the average population here is really on the young side. So one of the things that I want to personally embark on is the power of habituation driven by right education. So the tools, the resources that we are investing into, the tech that we are investing into will go a long way in creating those little capabilities where automatically the investment is done, a portion of your salary, a portion of your income on a periodic, on a routine basis is getting invested. And that is really the game, because in a consumption-driven economy, creating good financial habit is going to be very, very challenging. So I don't want to encourage our customers to just follow a marketing campaign and do something today and then forget about it tomorrow. We want to develop sustainable small baby steps to develop the financial saving habit based on sound information, based on the leveraging on AI, and of course, based on partnering with entities like Bridgewise so that we can get into the right mindset of our investors so that they are informed, they know what they are doing, and they are using tech to develop their habits. So that would be my parting statement for today.
So I'll add to conclude on the great statements by Dragan and Arjun. I think the world is changing. I think we all experience it. Let's put aside capital markets. We experience it everywhere. It's due to great technologies that are now coming. But I think it's not only that. I think it's also about let's say, traditional organizations and also the innovative organizations that the great two gentlemen right here are representing, that are here to say, hey, this is our time to evolve and this is our time to adopt these technologies because we can do much more as a population, as a world. And I think, as Arjun mentioned, and that will be my main takeaway from this session, is that now the underserved are being served, and we see this revolution every day.
But we've heard from the experts, the shifts from in terms of like how the market is moving, the volatility. We're hearing a lot of AI word, transparency, investments, what you should do, what you shouldn't do. I think this is super, super useful and insightful. So I hope that everybody share the same sentiments as me. We truly appreciate our panelists' valuable contribution, your engaging questions, and we hope that you found the sessions informative and thought-provocative. Any feedback, please feel free to write to us. We look forward to connecting with everyone in our next event. So thank you very much and goodbye for now.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you so
Bye.
much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.